All right. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the VOD Squad, the show where we talk about streaming stuff, content, providers. Maybe there's something new that we haven't even thought about yet, but, well, we'll have to find out.
Streaming VR.
I would be on board for that. But I am Clyde. Today I am joined by my good buddy Jimmy Trammell.
Hello everybody.
My other buddy Matthew Ross.
Hi.
And our Austin buddy, Michael Aston.
Hello. Howdy.
He's the Aston from Austin.
Howdy, y'all.
Yeah. So, I think, Mike, when we were talking, and I never put the two together, you said you wanted an Aston Martin, right? When we were talking in Vegas?
Yeah.
And I never really put together the whole... Now I get it. Yes, you need an Aston Martin. You need an Aston in an Aston.
Yeah. Not only does it have my name, but it's actually a pretty awesome car. And they are made with an individual in mind of up to 6'2", and I happen to also be 6'2".
Jeremy Clarkson. Yeah, Jeremy. If you watch the first season of the Grand Tour, Jeremy Clarkson didn't have some nice things to say about the Aston Martin he was raving about when he actually drove it and couldn't get in and out of it. But yes, well, this is episode 32, where we talk about cars. Just throw everything out the window. We're just going to talk about cars.
It's vehicles on demand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would be on board with that. I mean, I am a pretty big car guy, so yeah.
Yeah, so am I. I'm pretty good.
If vehicles on demand, you're not talking like Uber. You're more like talking Zipcar.
Yeah, this is an Uber.
Oh no! We're gonna lose Will. We're gonna lose Will. Don't go away, okay. Will. I promise we'll go back to what we're here.
Okay.
So, how you guys doing this week? What's going on? What's new?
I can just tell you guys it's been an interesting, harsh week for me. I have a nice story to tell. I'm going to hold it off till my rant, though.
Ooh.
It's a story about ordering a large screen TV.
Ooh,
nice tease.
How many Ks?
4.
Wow, you went the full 4.
No, I didn't.
Oh.
The full 4.
Okay. Well,
okay.
That's a bit of a cliffhanger. Stick around. You'll find out.
I guess.
What about you guys? Nothing?
Yeah, for me, just hacking on databases as usual, right? Getting close to the end of the project that I've been working on.
Right. Now, when you hack on databases, are you like the guy that goes out there and fixes it when the customer has actually screwed something up? Because I know those kinds of guys, and I really appreciate those guys. Or are you more of a, hey, let's build this database and make it work for you kind of a guy?
I do a little bit of either or, but in this case, yeah, the customer has kind of screwed something up, and I'm fixing it for him.
Okay. So he builds it and then comes back when they break it.
Gotcha.
Yep.
That's called warranty or SLA.
That's called job surety because
revenue assurance.
Someone's going to break the database.
Exactly. Revenue assurance is what we like to call it.
That's right.
So what's the SLA on that kind of thing?
On this particular project, we actually got another team that will be monitoring those databases 24/7.
Ooh.
So the SLA is pretty high on that.
Yeah.
All right. It's state government, right? So.
Oh, well, yeah. Right. And they're probably paying like 4 times what they should, right? And you're not complaining.
Actually, no, they're not. Actually, they're not paying all that much, right? Yeah, but they're paying a fair price, I would say, not overpaying.
Yeah. So for those of you that are new to the show, I don't have a lot of faith in our government.
Yeah, well, I'm with you on that.
All right.
No, don't say.
No, I know.
Never got that from you, Clyde.
No, I know. It's hard to believe.
I thought you were all big government all the way.
Oh, absolutely. Well, when they're listening, I am, but which is all the time.
Yeah, we're on the internet. They're listening right now. Say hi, ready to the end. Say hello to say.
See, that's the thing. You can be the smallest podcast that ever existed, but you can always guarantee that somebody is going to listen to it because that's their job.
Yeah, it's right. That poor soul who has to listen to this podcast. Come on. Especially if
they're sorry.
All right. With that, should we get on to some news?
Yeah, we actually have some decent news this week. We're going to start off with a little one. The PlayStation Vue is now got themselves a little client available on the Kodi box. So if you've got yourself either one of those illegal Kodi boxes from eBay, or if you built your own, you can now actually download the app and use PlayStation Vue right on your Kodi box, which is pretty awesome if you ask me. I think this is every single one of the different streaming providers should be looking at ways they could support outside hacker boxes like this, because you're probably a paying subscriber. It's not like you're going to be stealing content from a streaming service, unless you are.
So let me ask: when you install that, does it come with your very own copy of Patrick Stewart? Because
I hope so.
I hope so too, because I would rush out and install that right now.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart. If he was like the spokesman for PlayStation Vue, they get so much more traffic. You know that.
Oh, absolutely, they would.
Oh yeah.
I'll just leave it there.
Well, it makes me. This story kind of makes me wonder a little bit why they chose that platform. My guess is that maybe the developers there at PlayStation Vue, this is something they wanted to use. So it's like, oh, okay, why don't we just release an official version for that, right? So,
well, the only other platform I could think of that's kind of in this kind of genre of a hacker box, make your own streaming box, would be probably Plex. I mean, possibly with TV if you're a Linux head like that, but Plex is probably a more common thing for this. Maybe it was just easier to hit Kodi. Maybe it was maybe they're going to work on other ones. I don't know.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they probably figured that they were going to end up on Kodi hacked anyways, so might as well release it.
Well,
stem the flow.
Fair point.
I am a big fan of Kodi, and we've talked about that before. I've been kind of a on again, off again, relationship with them since the very beginning. And I'm happy anytime something new comes that makes it better. Especially after the last couple weeks where there was all that news about how, Britain is wants to make Kodi illegal, And so PlayStation Vue officially on Kodi, awesome. I want it all the places.
Is Plex legal in Britain?
Just Kodi boxes right now. It's the only one that they were.
So I mean,
Plex is legal because
that's the thing, right? Like
Plex isn't.
Kodi isn't. There's nothing wrong with Kodi.
No.
It's just that it is often used for nefarious purposes.
Well, that's what people
like jailbreak boxes. Same with Plex, though, right? Nothing wrong with Plex, but it can't be used for illegal things.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is that's what people know Kodi as. I was a couple weeks ago I was having lunch with my recruiter and a couple people from my contracting company. They took me out to lunch, and it's these two ladies that are not very super tech savvy, but they knew what Kodi was because it's the thing her brother uses to illegally watch stuff for free. And I had to explain to them, no, it's not. It's Kodi. The name Kodi has become synonymous with pirating. Just like if you say, download the torrent Oh, no, there are legitimate torrents.
Right.
BitTorrent is a legitimate file transfer protocol. Yes, people can use it for a bad thing. I could drive my car through a crowd of people and use it as a weapon, but that doesn't make the car inherently bad. It's how I choose to use it. But yeah,
true.
I know W. Scottish One is surprised it's not just for piracy. No, go out, use it. There are legitimate uses.
Yeah.
Newsflash.
You can get all of your Linux distros, or pretty much all your Linux distros, via BitTorrent significantly faster than you can download them in other sources.
That's how I got mine.
Faster. Whatever, almost any size pipe you've got, it'll saturate it. It's wonderful.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we have another story. This one I'm really interested in. The Verge reports, I don't know if they're the first reporter, but there's Viacom is working to make a sports and news-free streaming bundle that you can get for about $20 a month that you will be able to subscribe for later this year. Basically, they're working with AMC and a couple other ones. They want to drop ESPN and other ones in order to reduce the price down to a very low cost and just have the streaming services. Now, here's the interesting thing. So it looks like they're working with AMC and Discovery to make this streaming service, but this is going to be probably the only one that has the Viacom channels. So if you're looking for those, it might just be the only choice.
Yeah, so I read this like 3 times before I totally felt like I understood what was going on. And it is deceptively worded, in my opinion. I feel like, because I read it a little differently, it looks to me like Viacom is working with another streaming service. So they're not creating their own, but they're working with another streaming service. And they're proposing that it might be PlayStation Vue, because the report that they got indicated that Viacom was working on fixing a damaged relationship, and they had been pulled off of Vue a while ago, off of PlayStation Vue a while ago. So it looks like what this might actually be is potentially a different package for the PlayStation Vue that doesn't include that high-priced ESPN bundle and brings your prices down a little bit. But again, the wording on this article is not necessarily 100% clear. But that was my perception, is that Viacom and some other companies, including AMC and Discovery, possibly, are working with this particular streaming service to create a sports-free service.
Could be more than one bundle, because in the article, it says between $10 and $20. So maybe there's 2 or 3 different price points there.
Yeah, possibly.
Right now, what makes sense here to me is that this was probably Sling. Sling has already separated the NBC version of their channels and the Disney version of their channel into these base bundle. Imagine they make a third base bundle that has the Viacom channels. They already have the deal with Viacom. So that could be the streaming service that they're talking about.
Yeah,
could be. I'm interested to see. I honestly don't see anything that I'm missing from Viacom and my PlayStation Vue. It's like, there are some good things on Comedy Central occasionally. MTV is completely worthless in my opinion nowadays. VH1 has gone the way of MTV, also no longer being about music in any way. So those 2 channels I kind of view as useless. Like I said, Comedy Central occasionally has some good stuff, but this doesn't mean anything to me. The one thing that I'm excited about is that I could potentially 8-9 months of the year drop my price by $10 or $20 for my PlayStation Vue, if assuming that was what it was, or whatever service it is. Get a service that's $10 or $20 cheaper, so that I don't have to pay for the sports channels that I'm not going to use except for 3 months of the year. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I the only thing I had to add to this is yay sports.
For those who don't want sports, it's perfect.
This is something that's interesting to me, though, and it it raises a lot of questions, not because I'm interested in sports, but because of the potential impact this has on a massive industry in our country.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the more solutions you have for watching TV that don't put money in ESPN's pocket, the more problems the sports industry is going to have. I mean, the sports industry is built around ESPN to a large extent. They get a huge portion of the money that they support all of the teams and the players and the salaries and all of that with through ESPN and these deals. And if they're not getting that kind of money, I don't know what that means for MLB and the NFL and stuff like that. Do we start seeing sports teams going out of business? And again, I'm not a big sports fan, but it's interesting and you know, I wonder what'll happen. I don't want to see these leagues go away completely.
No.
That would be damaging.
Especially when my tax money is still paying for that stupid 3 stadiums that were recently built. So they better not go away.
That's right. But yeah, I mean, if they lose billions and billions of dollars a year from ESPN, then that could be teams disappearing. You know, again, I don't think the NFL is going to go away or the MLB is going to go away, but some teams might, because there's a lot of teams that don't get as much support in their local market from home games and stuff like that, and from game viewing, that they probably can't support themselves without that huge revenue source that they're getting right now.
The Montreal Expos.
They didn't really go away. They just moved to DC and became the Nationals.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Cleveland Browns became the Purple Browns, and then you've got the Cleveland Browns and the Purple Browns. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, I don't know. It seems like to me, other than baseball, football, basketball, not much TV has dedicated to sports anyway. So
but you're thinking as an American.
It's true. No soccer.
Because there is a lot of football, soccer. And there was actually an article last week that we didn't talk about because it pertained to India, in the fact that Amazon may have found a way to finally become the ubiquitous service in India because they're picking up cricket.
Oh, wow.
Because nobody has cricket. So they're like, hey, we're going to be the cricket channel. And which means in India, everybody's going to now want to be like an Amazon Prime subscriber. So rock on. Yeah. All right, what's up next?
We have one of 2 stories. First one is you can now watch YouTube TV on Apple TV using AirPlay. Basically, you had the opportunity to watch YouTube TV with using either your Android or your Apple phone.
If you're in the right market.
Yeah, that's correct. And you could stream to a Chromecast device using just the Chromecast streaming. That worked great, but now it looks like you'll be able to use AirPlay to send your stream to your Apple TV. So, you Apple people who really are looking at YouTube TV as an option for you, this has probably made it even better of an option for you.
Yep, especially if you're in their market. Yeah. One thing is a reminder to those of you out there: people forget that Chromecast is built into the Android TV.
Yep.
So I heard someone talking the other day say, "Oh, well, I don't have a Chromecast. I've got an Android TV, but I don't have a Chromecast." They were talking about the Google Home thing. But no, I mean, YouTube TV on more places, awesome. I want it on all the things, everywhere.
Well, it's interesting that they've were able to get this. This is like the parody of the Chromecast streaming, so it makes perfect sense that they would be able to get the other side working with this. But it's so short of being on all the other devices, and I don't even think they have a website yet. So this is this is Poodle. You said Poodle. This is totally still in beta. So we're going to be. I cannot wait for more support.
Hopefully they can get this stuff resolved, and it's a short beta.
And,
but
I don't know. I mean, it's good that you can, do this, that you can AirPlay it to an Apple TV, but it makes you wonder, why don't they just go ahead and develop a full-fledged app for the Apple TV? And perhaps maybe this is a prelude to, because Apple is having their Worldwide Developers Conference here in a couple of weeks, I believe. Perhaps maybe this is a prelude to that. Maybe they'll introduce a Apple TV app in a couple of weeks.
But there have historically been roadblocks to Google apps on the Apple TV. I mean, look how long it takes to get an updated version of YouTube on the Apple TV. And I think they run into a lot of the same roadblocks that like Amazon does. But
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, they make a YouTube app on the iPhone and iPad.
Yeah, that's different. But because
how so?
Well, because I mean, historically, like there's an iTunes, or I mean, there's Android, pretty much everything on the phones and the tablets. But it seems like the Apple TV is a lot more closed in as to what apps are allowed. I don't know.
So the two differences that I see are, first, that there is a separate set of development and approval process for the Apple TV. So that's the thing about Apple. Like, not only does everything have to be approved by Apple, but every additional device type that you want has to be approved separately. So that can be problematic. Now, some phone apps can just be like blanket approved for both, like phone and iPad, but not always. And so that can be a problem. And then the other thing that's big is that usage, right? Like, I mean, the Apple TV app is a different app in and of itself. And right now, there are not that many Apple TVs out there compared to iPhones and iPads. So developing an app for that environment and dealing with the headache of getting it approved through Apple. Apple is notorious for making it hard for their big competitors to get apps on their devices. So it's one of those things that, is it worth that headache with the amount of people that are using that device right now? Maybe not. Or maybe it hasn't been, and maybe they're making that shift and starting to test those waters. And if they see good support, and also realize, of course, this is a new service, right? This is YouTube TV. So this may be one of those things they're kind of testing the water with, airplaying it. And if they get good response and good support, then they start to go ahead and say, hey, maybe we need to build a full-fledged app.
Well, and also on top of that, you have the Apple TV app, which allows you to integrate and be able to launch channels and launch shows directly from within the Apple TV app, which I have not seen in person. So I'm totally layperson here when I say this, but that kind of integration probably also requires a lot of work to do correctly as well.
Yeah, perhaps that is right, but I don't know. Maybe it's just again, it could just be a prelude to things to come, because the rumor that we did a couple of shows ago about the Amazon Prime app coming to Apple TV, right? And that should be announced in a couple of weeks, I think.
Hopefully.
Hopefully so. Yeah. Or so the rumors say. But yeah, I mean, as an Apple TV owner, right? Yeah, I'd like to see it come there, both the Amazon as well as the YouTube.
As an Apple TV owner, you actually want to have apps you can use on the device?
Well, the more apps, the better,
silly.
Right?
I thought
most of them are there.
Oh.
Most of the only ones that are missing are the YouTube TV app and the Amazon Prime app. Everything else is there.
I thought people just bought it as like a status icon, so that when people come over, they see you have an Apple TV. You don't actually use it; it's just there for.
It's the last device that Steve Jobs really worked on, so it's kind of like an homage to him.
I suppose that's true.
All right. What did YouTube say?
We also have some bad news about YouTube TV. Apparently, there's a story here that the head of CEO of Turner, who has HBO, TBT, TNS, went ahead and contacted YouTube TV and said, "We want to put our channels on your service." And Google and YouTube TV said, "Nope." Not no. This is why not. No, this is what we're working on. No, yes, we're working to. Yes, but or whatever. As far as we know, all they said was no. So
well, number one, does TBS actually have original content? Because all I can think of when I think of TBS is reruns of stuff in syndication. Yeah. That's not a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. But I can't think of anything.
Yes, TBS.
Because TBS used to be the place you'd go to watch wrestling, right?
The Braves. Conan O'Brien.
Conan O'Brien.
Oh yeah, there's the Conan O'Brien show.
Conan O'Brien, the Braves.
That's the only one I can think of.
Stuff as far as I can think of.
Well, I mean, obviously CNN does.
Right. TNT.
Well, does. Oh yeah, CNN has a lot of original stuff because they manufacture all of their news. I had to cut away for it.
No, this is interesting because really compared to many of the other channel ones out there that are offering $35 a month shows, I would say that YouTube TV is currently probably behind in decent channel count compared to the other ones. And if they're denying this Turner network, which in my opinion, decent network really to be picking up, and probably not terribly expensive. At least I wouldn't think it would be terribly expensive for CNN, TBS, and TNT. They're not going to pick it up. There must be something else that is going on in the background here, why they didn't take it, or it's just simple tactics to try to get better deals. So.
Well, yeah, it looks like they would have by the deal that they wanted would have just made it too expensive and would have put them too far over. And I get it because not having TNT, TBS, or CNN is not preventing me from wanting to use YouTube TV.
I like Scotus's point. YouTube said no. YouTube, really?
Yeah.
That's a slap in the face.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Here's my take on that, right? My take on that is that, you look at those channels and you think of YouTube. Perhaps those channels don't quite fit the demographic of YouTube. Right?
I mean, it could be something like that. My honest opinion is that I think this comes down to a combination of dollars and cents and strategy, right? Like Clyde was indicating, this may be a way for them to get better deals, not just from. So maybe they want to pay less for this, but also all of the other deals. When they start saying no, and channels start to hear that they're saying no because of price, channels are going to be a lot more aggressive at the pricing that they offer. Maybe this helps them with their negotiations for HBO next year. I mean, so these are all things that they take into consideration. But also, again, people are doing this to some extent to get away from the high prices of the bundles that you get with cable TV. And so by just adding all of the channels that are available, you are effectively recreating cable TV in a streaming solution, which means you're getting cable TV over your cable internet, which is cable, right? So there's absolutely no point in doing that. I think this is a wise move by YouTube. They're helping themselves stay competitive. They're keeping their price reasonable, and they're still offering a good package. Additionally, a huge percentage of what CNN produces is available streaming via YouTube and other sources. So it's not like they're even getting something that they don't actually already have on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right. I said it before, and I still agree to this thought that if YouTube TV just gives me my locals and gives me the ability to DVR and watch it on any device I want, worth the $35. I'll pick up some of the other stuff I want on top of that because nobody else has all the locals and a good DVR solution. So it's like a basic cable package, and if that's all it is, and maybe that's what's costing the most because they have to look at every single market which has all these different local channels they have to cover, maybe that's the part of the problem too. Their math is looking harsh in order to make it like that. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, in regards to CNN, I can already get RT on Pluto, so why would I want to pay for CNN? And I'm pretty sure Alex Infowars is out there someplace too for free. So
yeah, you can also get CBS for free as well, right?
Yeah. You can. Oh, CBS
Yes.
News.
CBS News.
Yeah, the news.
Gotcha.
yeah, no, I will point out that it does state in the article that YouTube wanted to, or they wanted to keep the cost of YouTube TV around $35 a month. And right. I get it, because $35 is already kind of pushing the envelope.
Well, that makes them the most expensive solution from a base perspective, right? So everybody else is 30.
Exactly.
Or even lower. Like Sling TV, I think their base is 20, right? So there are cheaper solutions from all of the other streaming sources. YouTube is trying to offer a better service at a slightly higher price, a premium package, but they still have to draw the line somewhere as to what they call premium in order to still get reasonable margins.
What other service is $30?
PlayStation Vue is
$30 now.
Okay.
And you've got, isn't DirecTV 30?
It's around there someplace. Yeah,
35. I think all the other ones are 35.
Yeah, see, and at 35, that's about as high as they can possibly go at this point, because they don't have a user base. They barely even have a platform that's in beta. The fact that people are paying, are people paying to participate in the beta?
YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah, people are paying.
I mean, okay, so there you go. So, I mean, the fact that people are even paying to be part of the beta at $35, yeah, if it was any more, I don't think anybody would. I think then price would become an issue.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for value, if value is the thing for you, I would think you could probably better spend that $35 by getting a Netflix and a Hulu subscription, and you'd still be less than $35.
And as W. Scottus 1 points out, is remember to factor in all of the extras and add-ons that are included in that price. So
yeah, exactly.
But like I said, even the 35 with everything included, that's still pretty steep for a beta. That's gonna be buggy. You know that going in, and it's not 100% complete. And yeah, so
I sure wish I could.
Did they at least cut out commercials for $35 a month?
That's like an extra couple bucks, isn't it?
Yeah, you pay like $4 more to get commercials out of your YouTube, right? So to get you the
I don't think they're offering that on YouTube TV.
No, YouTube allows you to skip the commercials with your DVR. You have a DVR function, so you just can skip ahead. Except after 24 hours of their existence of an on-demand version of the show, your DVR disappears, and you would get the on-demand version, which you may or may not be able to skip commercials based on their rights. So that does suck.
Yeah, that sucks. I mean, to be fair, at least on the PlayStation Vue, most of the on-demand ones allow me to skip commercials, or in some cases actually have the commercials cut out for me.
Yep.
Which, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I can't wait until this opens up to other markets. This is the one that makes most sense to me. But once again, more of the various services are announcing more channels to local places, more local channels, and I check, nothing in Washington State. Not a single one.
Minnesota never gets any love. They don't even get love from me, and I've been here for 15 years.
They don't have any technology in Washington State. None. Those people are all backwards.
And it's all
why would you market to them?
We're all a bunch of tree-hugging hippies anyway, so they'll be right.
Well, do you think it's Google specifically avoided Washington to stick it to all the Microsoft employees?
I truly
Microsoft and Amazon employees?
Maybe.
Actually, no, they should flood the market so they can take over that market. And so they can say, screw you.
The way to tell is, is Cupertino in that area of coverage? If you look at the coverage map, is there a big circle around Cupertino?
There's a circle around Redmond. What is it? Renton, where Amazon is kind of like in Renton, and and then Cupertino. It's like, just avoid the competition. They can't have it.
See, if I was in charge of the rollout, that's exactly how I would roll it out. But all right. Hey, we've got exciting news from Verizon.
Yeah, so get ready for the big story, guys. Verizon CEO confirms the company's plan to launch a streaming TV service.
We know one of those.
Is this the same one that they announced like 5 times before and keep canceling?
I think this story is like maybe on repeat somewhere. Is somebody on
Speaking of repeat.
Yeah, the show started over.
My button moved.
Oh yeah. There's the problem. No, it's a report saying that the CEO is making more comments saying, "Yep, we're going to be planning on coming out this summer or maybe this fall with our own streaming service to compete with the likes of YouTube TV and the PlayStation View, and we'll see if they ever get around to it."
Because if I remember right, they were developing a streaming box.
Yeah, that's gone.
But then they were going to do a streaming service.
Yeah, I think this is the service that they're talking about.
But then that got canceled. Then they said they were going to do something for phones. That never happened.
Go 90. It did happen.
Oh, it did.
It was a horrible.
Okay,
go get
so
it
would have been better off if it didn't.
Right.
Okay. If I remember right, this was one of the first stories that was reported in the early iteration of Cord Killers. So that's how long they've been promising this and canceling it. It's been, 3-4 years now?
Yeah, well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing the SCOTUS brings up is that about Go 90, right? So Go 90 is relevant to this conversation because perhaps one of the reasons that they're even looking so hard at this and working so hard at it is because they have a bunch of technology and employees that are specialized in streaming related services. I mean, Go 90 was a streaming entertainment service. It has largely failed to be successful. The article indicates here that this is a separate service. However, that doesn't mean that it doesn't utilize any of the employees or that employees haven't been taken from one company and moved to the other. So this may be part of their motivation, is that they already kind of know how to do it, so they might as well do it and try to get in on this thing. Plus, Verizon is always trying to get a little bit more than just being a cell phone company, right?
Yeah, they're so envious of AT&T and the fact that they got their own television streaming company and satellite company. Gosh, we got to do the same thing. It seems like they do that a lot, though.
Yeah, so, I'm sitting here trying to go through the article. So I wonder if they're planning, is this a service that you have to be one of their internet service customers in order to get this service?
This is separate from their Fios TV and separate from their cable solutions. It sounds like so.
Oh, okay.
We'll just put that in the will they won't they pile, and someday something may happen. I won't hold my breath.
I want to know what you guys think. Do you think that they will actually have a service that somebody publicly can watch, whether they call it a beta or not, but it's a public site up before the end of the year or after the end of the year? After.
Oh,
I think they'll probably do it, but I don't think they'll get it before the end of the year. At least not an open public beta.
The article said that they're expecting by the end of the year, but I'm going to say if they get it out at all, it's going to be next year.
After, okay. Jimmy, what do you think?
I think they'll slot in right in the last week of December and launch it then.
Just in time for New Year's.
The optimist.
Watch Ryan Seacrest drop his balls on New Year's Eve. I mean, the ball. Or did I mean?
I can think of a lot of people who'd want to watch that. He's gonna what? All right. No, I think they'll make it done. Get some type of service working before the end of the year. I don't know what it's gonna be. If it's gonna be any good, or if it's only gonna be to certain people, or if it's gonna be only Verizon users, or whatever. I don't know what the answer is there, but I think they're gonna get something out by the end of the year because they've been talking about it for so long. It's gotta happen eventually, right?
Well, I mean, just like Clyde said, AT&T has theirs out, so they gotta get theirs out this year.
I don't think I said that, but I'll take credit for it.
They'll have it out.
Right. All right. Okay. Hey, Mike, you were gone last week, and last Wednesday was the kickoff of Google I/O. I don't know, since last week, I mean, when we got together last week, I don't know how many times I can say last week, anybody counting? But we had limited information as to what had been announced when we last talked last week. There you go. I had to give you an even 5. Thank you.
Keep going.
So, has anybody been paying attention? I wanted to know, is there anything that has stood out, kind of the announcements that came out after the fact? Anything stand out to you guys? You can put your hand down.
Oh, I'm still counting. Come on. No, to me, I want to have the new Google Assistant stuff, but it's not here yet. I can't get to it on my phone. I want Google Lens so I can point my picture at things and for it to try to tell me things. I can now type into my Google Assistant so I don't have to have the voice response if I don't want it, but that can be nice. I want to be able to talk to it and get things like Domino's Pizza, although I never would go to Domino's, but be able to talk to those secondary things. This is the stuff that we were expecting the Google Home apparently Google Home's doing some of the stuff, but the one on my phone to be able to do. And I'm excited about that, and I want it, and I can't wait.
See, the Google Lens thing actually kind of freaks me out. At first, I was like, this is cool. But then you start thinking about it. Okay, does that also work when you're, like, taking a selfie? Is it going to look at your face and go, oh, hey, dude, that's like a melanoma. That might be cancerous. Dude, I don't want to know that. Let me live.
I do.
Great.
Don't ruin my day.
Let me know right away. Don't hold it back, Google. Tell me right away what's going on here.
Hey, we've identified, like, something in the picture, and it's like, brings up a horrible thing that it compared your face to. I really hope that they incorporate hot dog, not hot dog, for those of you that got that joke. But yeah, it's there was I don't know, Mike, have you been paying attention to the Google I/O announcements?
Just a little bit. I mean, I've been a little bit crazy busy, so I haven't been able to pay as much attention as I'd like. But there were a couple of things that did stand out to me. The fact that Google Assistant is going to be available on the iPhone, that is pretty significant to me. In fact, it seems to me like something is either changing at Apple or something is changing at other companies, because a lot of things are being announced for Apple devices in the last few months. And so it seems like Apple may be playing a little bit nicer, or maybe people are just finally, it doesn't make sense that companies are finally deciding Apple's worthwhile to be on. The ecosystem isn't significantly growing. So it seems like they're playing a little bit nicer, and that is significant.
Well, Google's always kind of gone out of their way to put their stuff on Apple. And
right.
I think with the Apple, or with the, with the Google Assistant, they finally just wore Apple down. That was my assumption, was that I was surprised that Apple allowed it, but
yeah.
And Jimmy, you've been using it for about a week now.
Yeah, and I want to know.
Yeah, I like it. I've been enjoying it, but I mean, I mean, you guys know where I stand. I mean, yeah, I'm kind of an Apple fanboy, but I use all the Google services as well.
Yeah.
Right?
So, do you like Google Assistant as well, or better, or less than Siri, or do you not use it the same way?
I would say it depends on what you're asking. There are some things that Siri will do a little better than, say, the Google Assistant, but then there's a lot of things too that the Google Assistant will do better than Siri, right? So it depends on what you're asking for. But if you're inside the Google services, if you are a Google services user, I mean, you want to use the Google Assistant, right? And I use all of the Google services. So that's where you want, So, again, it kind of depends on where you want to live, for the particular services that you use.
Yeah, I just wonder, I mean, I use the Echo as much as I can, but honestly, from an integration and an app perspective, it's definitely not there. And it's not nearly as useful. There's a lot of times where we'll ask our Echo a question and be like, okay, I guess we're going to have to ask Google. And we'll pull out our phone and use Google Assistant to get an answer rather than... I feel like I always get the result I want with Google Assistant. Unfortunately, sometimes I have to read it. Right. Because it doesn't read it back to you because it's not from a source that it knows how to parse correctly.
Yeah,
but a huge percentage.
And they all have that problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. But that's the thing is, like with the Echo, unless I do it on my phone, which now I'm really not getting any benefit out of my Echo, it doesn't do that. If I ask the Echo a question that it can't parse, it just says, "I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that question," or something like that. And so that's a bit annoying. And it is far more likely when I ask Google Assistant that it will be able to parse it and read it back to me with a good answer.
Yeah.
So that's something that I wondered how good Siri is. I've never used Siri, but apparently a lot of people are happy with it. It seems to me like from what I hear from people, though, is that in some ways it's almost toy-like in its effectiveness and responses, and it has a small set of things that it does really well, and everything else is just maybe. Yeah, but I could be perception.
I can, I mean, all of these, assistants that you have out there, be it, the Echo, Siri, Google Assistant, or what have you. In my opinion, if you ask it something and it just pulls up a web search, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that's a failure, right? That's a fail, right? Because now you just wasted your time. I could have already typed it into a Google search and looked it up already.
I mean, if you're away from your, if you're not sitting at a computer, you haven't wasted your time, right? You would have had to type it into your phone, and I think asking my phone is at least as fast as me typing it. For me, I'm not a quick typer, especially on those tiny little keyboards, but asking it with Google Assist on my smartphone, and I have a nice smartphone. It's a fairly high-end one, so it is lightning quick. And I ask Google the question, and it immediately gives me a response back. So it's as fast as doing a web search myself, and saves me having to type it in. So I think it's always better. But I do agree that I feel like it's a failure if it doesn't tell me the answer. If I ask it a question verbally, I would like it to always answer verbally with the best solution.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say.
I remember back when they first launched the OK Google thing. So this would have been like, 2012, 2013, around there someplace. And my kids, I used it for the first time, and they were just like, wow. I mean, but they're familiar with Siri. And they said, what is that? I said, oh, it's just Google. They said, I like Google. I was like, why? They said, 'cause Siri's mean. I was like, yes, Siri is very mean. But no,
which is kind of one of the fun things about it, right? Like, because it's almost one of the downsides to Alexa, in my opinion. Sorry, everybody, if I just set it off. To the Echo, in my opinion, is that it's while the voice is pleasant and it works well, it has no attitude, and it seldom has anything fun in the way it responds. Now, there are always specially programmed things that if you get the emails, it'll be like, ask this question, and that one question will have some wit or attitude to it or something like that. But otherwise, it is not very creative. Whereas Siri seems to have a lot of fun answers to the way you ask questions and stuff.
Yeah,
I like that. I think that giving your AI personality is always a good thing.
Sure.
And
absolutely.
And I know we said this wasn't going to be vehicle on demand, but one of the things that was actually exciting to me was the Android Auto stuff, because they came out with Android Auto a couple years ago. It's been Mike, you and I used it a bit in Vegas, and in my rental, but they finally have updates. And as I was going through information about the new, look what I found. This is one of the cars that they had on that someone was doing a review, and then it's playing DTNS.
Nice.
So I thought that was kind of funny.
Awesome.
But no, they're now going to be in like over 500 cars, I think. Yeah. 50 manufacturers, at least 100 cars
that's each. Literally 500 cars, right?
No, that's 500 models.
No. They're only going to put it in 500. You just randomly might get it. So you may.
Now I can speak to something similar to that. And I use the Apple CarPlay in the car that I drive, right? And I have to say they've really done a good job on that, right? And I hear that the Android version of that is also good.
It's
right?
Good. Up until recently, it has varied based on manufacturer implementation. So like. As any of you that have built servers or whatever know, the underlying OS can be great if you set it up correctly and you turn on the features that actually make it useful. A lot of the manufacturers up to this point have not. And it's been kind of when it works, it's great, but kind of annoying. But a lot of the new stuff that they
servers, you also know that you have to not turn on the things you don't want.
Exactly. That's the other thing.
Which
But with Android Auto, with the new update, it's got like multiple screens. So you've got a big dedicated display in the dash, and then you've got another smaller one on your gauges next to the speedo that will give you basically heads up direction. So it'll show you like turn like a right arrow with a street name. So you don't have to look down at the middle of the car. You know, it's That's right cool. there where you're looking anyway. And then That's also Android Auto has been upgraded to incorporate the features of the car. So using that screen, you can now interface with the engine and like the heat and the seats and all that stuff. So that's cool. But basically, I brought that up. I just wanted to as a segue to show that DTNS shout out. That was
that's pretty awesome.
That was pretty awesome.
Can you talk to it to do things?
Yeah, it's got Android
Assistant.
Assistant.
Can you be like, warm my buns and it'll turn your heat seater on?
I bet you could probably teach it. But that was the thing about Android Assistant is they are working in the learning. So you could train it to do that in theory.
You could give it shortcut terms. You could say Bazinga, and it would know to turn on. You know, your favorite television show on your TV in your living room. And
I want to do like else, the pretty girl whistle and have it honk
my
horn.
The Apple CarPlay will do some of that too. You know, like say you'll see it flash up on the screen that you got a new email. Would you like for me to read that for you? Right, and just say read it for me, and then it'll read it for you.
All right, rock on.
other than that, lots of cool stuff was announced. I mean, the Google Photos updates were pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. That good point. That was a good one.
Particularly the sharing suggestion. So you will be able to open up Google Photos and then you'll see, oh, by the way, you have a lot of photos of this guy. You want to share it with him? It's like, yeah.
That reminds me, if you have, for Android TV, if you have a Nexus player, the beta version of Android TV O is available. Unfortunately, I don't have a Nexus player. I've got a Me.
Yep.
So I can't participate.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one beta right now is proving to be more than I can handle. So I probably shouldn't break my Android TV when it's currently, my life depends on it. So yeah, no, there was a lot of cool stuff. New version of Android. And anything else stick out to you guys?
Lots of little things, but that was most of the big stuff that we talked about.
Cool. All right. Well, let's get on to some rants and some raves, and then wrap this puppy up.
Okay.
Who wants to go first?
Well, Matt, you teased it at the beginning.
Hey, this is what I've been waiting for.
That's the only reason I'm here, is I stuck around to find out what it was that you wanted to talk about.
So, did I talk to you guys about the fact that at school we bought a big flat screen TV?
Yes. And it was refurbished.
It was refurbished. Came on the wall. Ordered it from a major online retailer. To be fair, I'm not going to mention the retailer's name. Got on the wall, worked for a week, started having issues with it. Input 1 stopped working. Every single screen got a green line down the middle of it.
Oh.
Contacted the retailer, and the retailer said, okay, send it back for repair. And I said, well, I already recycled the box.
Yep.
So, after many conversations with various people about, how we're going to get this, I hired a local shipping company to wrap it and double boxed it with 3 inches of bubble wrap around it on every corner and reinforced corners. Got sent back to the company, and it arrived broken. Screen shattered. So they let me know, by the way, we're going to send it back to you. We're not going to repair it. We're just going to send it back to you. It's like, so I've been on the phone with them a lot for the last 2 days or so. Just, okay, what can we do about this? Was it insured? Is there any way we can work on this? Is there something else I should have done? I mean, it's been an interesting. It's been interesting to try to deal with these companies. So basically, the moral of the story is: if you buy a big screen TV, keep the box.
At least until you're sure that it's going to work in the long run.
Right. Well, many of these retailers actually have like a 90-day window where you can return it to the store.
Yeah.
Keep it at least that long.
My policy, and it may be a little extreme, but I have an attic full of electronics boxes, is I keep the original box as long as the warranty lasts. And when the warranty is no longer valid, the box goes out, right? Like I recycle it at that point. So I would recommend that. It may be a little extreme, but boxes go in other boxes in a lot of cases. And so I have boxes full of boxes that are all empty, and yeah, it takes up some space, but you can usually throw it in the attic. That's my recommendation.
Yeah.
If you have an attic.
Luckily now I've got a studio that has a drum riser. Well, there's not a lot you can do with the space underneath the drum riser. It's perfect for boxes. Slide those boxes under there. Yeah. No, that sucks, dude.
No, and where I work, I don't have a lot of space for boxes. So, I'm implementing a policy when it's a large item that's easily broken and difficult to repair. So
I wish I would have remembered that you were having that issue, because I saw the other day they were clearancing last year's Sharp 60-inch 4Ks with the Android TV for $400.
pretty good. Jeez.
And this was a
70-inch and it was $1,000.
Yeah,
so
that's what I was saying. This was like a 2016 version that they were clearancing, and I forgot to mention it.
Don't worry about it.
That sucks.
When we're off the air, I want to know what the manufacturer was when we're off the air.
I can tell you the manufacturer it's not their fault. It was a refurbished
LG
M series Vizio.
Oh. Yeah, and that's the risk you take with refurbished stuff. They were returned for a reason. They were repaired, and the policy I live by is, or through my experiences, if something electronic is going to fail, it will fail in the first couple months. If you make it a couple months, then you're pretty much, you're probably good. So,
right.
All right.
I agree.
Jimmy, what you got?
Well, don't have anything really to rant and rave about, but something that just, hot news. If you're an Apple fanboy, this is not for you, Clyde. But if I can get it lined up.
Plug my ears.
No.
Weird something. Oh, they got something in store for you.
Yeah, so the Apple online store is down right now, meaning they're about to put something new out there. Maybe it's something good.
Are you going to hop in line and just hit purchase before you even know what it is?
It's probably
no.
The guess is.
But that's what Apple says you're supposed to do. No. According to
But I mean, yeah, it could be something small like a new watch band or something like that. Who cares, right? But anybody who's an Apple fan out there, just so you know, the Apple online store is down.
Hey, W Scatus1 says he's listening.
Well, we're supposed to get new MacBooks eventually, so there could possibly be that, but unlikely on a Wednesday night.
Could be a new MacBook, yeah.
Yeah. That was another thing from Google I/O. The people were hating on some of the presenters because they were presenting the new Google stuff using MacBooks. And I was like, so what? I mean, Google doesn't really compete in that market, so whatever.
Well, I mean, let's face it. I mean, most people who do use Mac, most of them also use Google services, just like
exactly. That's why I didn't get it. I was like, what's the big deal? It's not like it was a Microsoft thing.
Yeah. It wasn't Microsoft presenting about the new Surface
or Dell saying this is our new line of laptops, but we're not even using it.
Although you remember, like a couple of years ago, when Satya Nadella did the Office for iPad
first
on an Apple iPad. Yeah.
Well, you have to because you can't demonstrate Office for iPad on anything else, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, true.
I thought you were going to go back to when Ballmer freaked out because that dude in the audience, the employee, had an iPhone and he grabbed it and he smashed it.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing, or that is the point. If Steve Ballmer was still at the helm, he would have never done that.
Oh no.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So I have a couple of things.
Okay.
First of all, I'm going to suggest what Apple has their store down for you.
Oh.
They're re-releasing the new MacBook so that it doesn't suck.
Well, maybe so.
I thought but by doing that, they just changed the color,
which is most of it. I've been using a new MacBook for a while now, and for a couple of months, the one that they released a few months ago, and I find it absolutely atrocious.
So is it
really not a fan?
What is it that you don't like about it, Mike?
I hate the keyboard. It's actually the worst keyboard I've ever used in my life. The only keyboard I've ever used that was worse was a projected keyboard. One of those little keyboards projected onto a desk. That is the only keyboard I've ever used.
Is it because of the shallowness of the keyboard?
The keys are ridiculously shallow. There's no real tactile feedback when you push the keys, so you have no idea. Like if you're typing something complex and long, like your password, you have no idea if you missed a key. The keys are really close, and since they're so shallow, you can't feel the separation of them. It's the worst keyboard. Additionally, that little magic bar thing across the top is totally stupid. I've never found a use for it.
You don't use the Touch ID?
I do use the Touch ID. That thing's awesome. That's the one good thing on it. The one good change. I mean, it's still an awesome monitor. It still performs well and stuff like that. But the changes that they made, the only good one was the touch thing. The escape button is in that touch bar, so there's not even a button. That's horrible. As a coder who's been using Vim a lot and stuff like that, you can't sightlessly touch the escape button because you don't know if you're hitting it. I mean, you start to get used to where it is, but without having any feedback, it's very frustrating. So I always look down when I hit escape, which I do a lot, and that's driving me crazy.
So now you're going to end up in a neck brace because of the whiplash from whipping your head back and forth.
Whiplash, yeah. So, I mean, that's my hope. That's my suggestion for them to be doing. That's me hijacking your statement. My actual rant is for Microsoft. On the other side, while I think Mac is kind of screwing up on the hardware front, trying too hard to be innovative, and that's to me that's what this MacBook issue is that, you know, they're trying to keep moving at this rapid pace of innovation that they've had and thinking of, like, you know, what would Steve do? But the reality is Steve would probably have slapped the employee that came up with that magic bar because it's pointless. And like that's my claim. So it's innovation for the sake of innovation, I think, and there's not a lot of actual value added to it. Users, I've not talked to anybody that's actually felt like it's added any value.
So
I agree with that. Apart from the Touch ID,
what is it?
Apart from the Touch ID there on the end, but that's the power button. It could have been done to any power button, right? Like Agreed. It didn't have to be in that bar.
So what is it about Apple that anytime they name something magic, it ends up being hated? Remember the Magic Trackpad, otherwise known as the Tragic MacPad?
That is a great name. I did not know of that name.
Yeah, Paul Thurrott always called the Magic Trackpad the Tragic MacPad.
He shoots arrows at Apple all the time.
Yeah, so. but no, everything I can think of that was Apple that was called Magic anything always ended up being reviled.
Yeah. I'm not. Is Magic Bar is what it's called, right? Like, I'm not just making that up, right?
All of their advertising is recently has been, it's like magic for all the stuff that they do. So
or one of my buddies calls it the Magic Strip Bar.
Well, I have used it a couple of times usefully, where it's suggested spelling, like when I've been talking to somebody and typing, and then it's like, oh, I can push the word that's right there because I'm a horrible speller, but like I'd just as soon type it out and then right click or whatever. So that's not really helpful. It's just I've used it, but you have to use it for all your function keys and stuff, and it just every time I use it annoys me. But my actual rant is.
But let me ask you this: if that bar was at the bottom rather than at the top, do you think that would be more useful?
No. Well, for two reasons. First of all, I think that then it would interfere with your trackpad, and that huge trackpad. The big trackpad is actually another improvement. I mean, the trackpad size is good. I don't like the new hard press thing because I always hard press it, which it didn't used to do. And I keep doing that on accident because I've got heavy hands, I guess, and I hard press and it does some weird control that I don't even know what it's doing. It always screws with me. And but I do like how big it is, and it doesn't despite the fact that it's massive, it's never once accidentally picked up my movement because your hands are resting on it all the time. So it's incredibly effective. So. You know, they got a couple of things right, but the majority of the things they changed, they really screwed up, in my opinion. But Microsoft, they have announced the Microsoft S operating system, which will be released on medium-priced business devices, right? So not their highest end, the Surface Book and stuff like that, but it'll be for the Surface laptop and things that are going to be kind of business grade, where you'll need to have network connectivity, being able to join a domain and stuff. but not necessarily like the Pro version. So it's going to sit kind of between Home and Pro, and it's touted to be like ultra secure and businessy from that perspective. And the way that they're getting ultra secure is all applications must be purchased from the Windows Store. You cannot load any Windows application that is not from the Windows Store, including, and their actual documentation specifically prohibits any non-Edge based web browsers. Chrome, Safari, Firefox will not be able to be on the Windows Store, period.
Correct, because there's a policy against those anything that doesn't use the Edge engine.
Yeah.
But you will be able to install many of your apps onto your devices using Intune and sideloading through a side store, wrapping your Win32 apps into a store app and putting it to your local users, thus making it more secure.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're still letting you do that. Like they have their software that lets you put an app into a Windows Store app, but it has to still comply with their policies. And that's the thing. It has to use the Edge browser, which allows them to, in theory, secure and control what it can do. It ultimately, it's pretty atrocious. Though I will say, I mean, so that's my big complaint about this whole thing, is the idea that you're not going to let Chrome be on there using the V8. However, in Microsoft's defense, that's actually how Apple does it as well. So Chrome on the Apple is
there's
actually
a double
using
standard.
Safari, the WebKit engine, instead of the V8 engine. So,
see, this would have been better if Microsoft pulled a real Chromebook operating system here, where, hey, it's Windows, sure, underneath. It's the Windows core, but we really stripped it down to bare nothing, and we can only run Edge as the Edge, and you have to do everything inside the browser. Just like Chrome OS, it's a Linux operating system, and you could have to run everything inside of Chrome. Well, and then compete at that level of making it compatible with the various options online and having good integration into OneDrive. And, you know, if they made a Edge book, that would have been amazing. And it would have been secure because, you know, you can't do anything with it. And make it so you reboot the device, you literally wipe everything away from it and start over from scratch. So, I mean, that's basically a Chrome OS version of the Edge browser OS that they could have done. If they would have gone that route, instead of this kind of, we're giving you the full version of Windows, but we're not going to let you run Windows apps.
Well, and this was an issue with the original Surface and the Surface, that's between the Surface Pro and the Surface S, was because RT was, but that was because of the architecture, because the Pro had actual CPU from it, like a desktop laptop architecture, whereas the smaller one was using mobile architecture, so you couldn't design the apps the same. You could not run a desktop app on that device because they're written for completely different architecture. And
if you remember Vista, when it first came out, the Metro interface, I mean, that caused all kinds of
havoc. That was 8.
Right? Oh, yeah, 8. But yeah, when 8 first came out, that Metro interface caused all kinds of havoc. It was, Microsoft has a tendency to make these kinds of missteps. Fortunately for them, they tend to come back on the next version and actually do things decently. It's their, I don't even know what, you know, Intel has their TikTok pattern, Microsoft has their flip-flop pattern. One flops and then they flip it over and they actually have a good operating system. The next one flops. So they have their pattern. And
is this new operating system still have the registry?
Yes.
I don't know.
Don't go there. Don't go there. Jimmy will have us here all night. Thank you for listening to Tech News Tonight. Now on Diamond Club TV.
What about you, Clyde?
No, my only gripe is that I've a little bit of a rave, a little bit of a rant. So I'm still moving forward with getting my actual studio set up, but I am hung up on internet. So, yeah. As we talked about last week, CenturyLink made me promises that I could get up to 100 megs at that location. I said, great, sell it to me. And then I got a call that said, oh, we can't sell that to you because we don't offer that there. And I was angry, so it looks like I'm gonna have to go with the same Comcast expensive business class that I've got here at home there. But I don't know if I can really swing that at 2 locations. So I'm fighting with Comcast trying to get some sort of a deal for multiple locations. So yeah, stay tuned. Hopefully in the near future I will be out of the bedroom and in a actual like flexible studio that I can do stuff. So
very cool.
Stay tuned. All right. Yep. I think if anybody else, unless anybody has anything, reason we shouldn't, I think we should end this. Thank you so much for hanging out. We got W. Scottus and Alexa and Jotmon and Fitz in the chat. Thank you so much. Those of you out there watching this after the fact, we will be back again next week, live Wednesday night on Diamond Club TV at 9 p.m. Otherwise, the new video should be up on YouTube here shortly, and we will see you next week. All right. See you guys. Hope those diamonds. Yeah. Bye.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.